Look at a map of the world from the top down. Look at the Arctic. For decades, we saw this region as a frozen barrier, a white shield that protected Canada from the rest of the world. But that shield is melting. The ice is retreating, and the Arctic is opening up. It is becoming a new ocean, a new trade route, and a new battlefield. Russia knows this. They have reopened 50 Soviet-era bases in the Arctic Circle. They are building new icebreakers, new missile silos, and new airfields. China knows this. They have declared themselves a near-Arctic state and are sending research vessels into our waters, and the United States knows this. But here is the uncomfortable truth that Ottawa is afraid to say out loud. Washington does not view the Northwest Passage as Canadian internal waters. They view it as an international strait. They believe they have the right to sail their warships through our backyard whenever they want. So, as we stand on the precipice of a new Cold War in the High North, Canada faces an existential question. Do we entrust our defense entirely to a superpower that disputes our sovereignty, or do we forge a new path? Do we build a new alliance with partners who share our geography and our values? This is the story of the Arctic Alliance, and why the Gripen fighter jet is the key to unlocking it. To understand why this matters, we have to look beyond the specifications of a single aircraft. We have to look at the geopolitical chessboard. For the last 70 years, Canada's defense strategy has been simple. Do whatever the United States says. We integrated into NORAD. We bought American equipment. We relied on the American nuclear umbrella. It was a comfortable arrangement, but the world has changed. American politics has become volatile and isolationist. Leaders like Donald Trump view alliances as transactional. They view trade partners as rivals. If Canada relies 100% on the F-35, we are locking ourselves into a dependent relationship with Washington for the next 40 years. We become a client state. If the White House decides to leverage maintenance codes or spare parts to force a trade concession, we are grounded. But there is another option. Look across the Atlantic. There are two other nations that understand the strategic importance of the North: the United Kingdom and Sweden. Both are maritime nations. Both are facing the same Russian threat, and both are home to world-class aerospace industries that are currently collaborating on the future of air combat. Sweden has Saab. The UK has Rolls-Royce, and before anyone else, systems. Together, they represent a third pole of power in the Western world, a European alternative to the American military-industrial complex. By choosing the Gripen E, equipped with a Rolls-Royce engine, Canada would not just be buying a jet. We would be joining this club. We would be forming a Northern Alliance. Canada, the UK, and Sweden. Three nations guarding the roof of the world with technology that we own and control together. Let's talk about why this specific aircraft is the linchpin of this strategy. The Arctic is an unforgiving environment. It is vast, empty, and incredibly hostile to machinery. The F-35 was designed for a global projection of power. It was built to kick down the door of enemy airspace in the Middle East or Eastern Europe. It relies on a massive logistical tail, tankers, AWACS, and heated hangars. But in the Canadian Arctic, we don't need a door kicker. We need a shield. We need a fighter that can live in the north. Sweden designed the Gripen E specifically for this mission. Their entire defense doctrine is based on denying Russia air superiority over a frozen landscape. The Gripen is designed to operate in small, dispersed packs. It uses a collaborative data link system that is arguably superior to anything the Americans have. One Gripen can track a target and share that data instantly with every other unit in the area, without saying a word on the radio. They hunt like a wolf pack, and crucially, they are efficient. Patrolling the Arctic requires endurance. It requires boots on the ground and planes in the sky, 24/7. The F-35 is simply too expensive for routine sovereignty patrols. Burning $42,000 an hour to chase away a Russian bomber is not sustainable. The Gripen allows us to have a constant presence. It allows us to say, we are here, we are watching, and we are not leaving. But the true genius of the Arctic Alliance lies in the industrial partnership. The United States has made it clear that they want to consolidate the defense industry within their own borders. They want Canada to be a buyer, not a builder. Saab and Rolls-Royce are offering the opposite. They are offering to transfer the technology to Canada. Imagine a production line in Quebec or Nova Scotia, building the airframes. Imagine a facility in Montreal, maintaining the Rolls-Royce engines. This creates a strategic corridor of defense production that stretches from Scandinavia to the UK to Canada. It creates a supply chain that is immune to the whims of American politics. If Washington threatens to cut us off, we can look to London and Stockholm. We have options. And in geopolitics, options are power. This alliance also solves a critical weakness in our current strategy: the lack of infrastructure in the north. We have neglected our Arctic bases for decades. Building the massive facilities required for the F-35 would cost billions more than the jets themselves. The Gripen does not need those facilities. It essentially brings its own base with it: a container of tools, a fuel truck, and a mobile power unit. That is all it takes to turn a remote airstrip into a forward operating base. This aligns perfectly with the strategy of our potential partners. The British Royal Air Force is currently looking for ways to project power into the high north without relying solely on aircraft carriers. They are interested in the concept of dispersed operations. If Canada adopts the Gripen, we become the hub for this new doctrine. We could host British and Swedish squadrons for training in the Arctic. We could develop joint tactics for fighting in extreme cold. We would become the leaders of Arctic defense, not just the junior partners of NORAD. Now, critics will say that leaving the American ecosystem is dangerous. They will say that interoperability with the US Air Force is the most important factor, and they are right, to a point. We must be able to fight alongside the Americans. But the Gripen is fully NATO-compatible. It carries NATO weapons. It uses NATO communication standards. The Czech Republic, Hungary, and soon possibly Ukraine all operate Gripens within the NATO framework. Interoperability does not mean buying the exact same product. It means being able to communicate and coordinate. And frankly, having a diversified fleet makes NATO stronger. If a cyber attack or a technical flaw grounds the F-35 fleet, the Gripens will still be flying. Diversity is resilience. But let's look deeper into the Rolls-Royce connection. The UK is currently developing the Tempest, a sixth-generation fighter. They are partnering with Japan and Italy. By partnering with Rolls-Royce on the Gripen engine now, Canada gets a foot in the door for the future. We get access to the next generation of engine technology. We ensure that our aerospace engineers are working on the cutting edge, not just assembling American kits. This is about the long game. It is about where Canada wants to be in 20 years. Do we want to be a nation that buys its security off the shelf? Or do we want to be a nation that builds its security with trusted partners? The threat in the Arctic is not hypothetical. Russia is claiming the seabed all the way to the North Pole. They are arming their icebreakers with cruise missiles. They are testing hypersonic weapons in the Barents Sea. They are signaling that they intend to dominate the roof of the world. Canada has the largest coastline in the Arctic, but we have the weakest presence. We are leaving the door unlocked. The F-35 is a fantastic hammer, but not every problem is a nail. Sometimes you need a guard dog. You need something that is always awake, always alert, and ready to bite at a moment's notice. That is the Gripen, and the political dimension cannot be ignored. Prime Minister Mark Carney is a man who understands economics and strategy. He knows that relying on a single supplier is bad business. He knows that diversification reduces risk. The Golden Deal from China regarding agriculture showed us the power of leverage. We need leverage in defense as well. By saying yes to the Arctic Alliance, Canada sends a powerful message to Washington. It says, "We value our friendship, but we are a sovereign nation. We will protect our interests, and we will choose the tools that fit our needs." It earns us respect. A sovereign Canada that can defend its own airspace is a better ally to the US than a dependent Canada that needs to be bailed out. This is the argument that needs to be made in Parliament. We need to reframe the debate. It is not just F-35 versus Gripen. It is dependence versus partnership. It is vulnerability versus resilience. It is the past versus the future. The ice is melting. The shipping lanes are opening. The world is looking north. Canada has a choice to make. We can watch history happen to us, or we can shape it. We can be a passive observer in our own backyard, or we can be the leaders of the Northern Alliance. The technology is ready. The partners are waiting. Saab and Rolls-Royce have put a deal on the table that offers us industrial rebirth and strategic freedom. All we have to do is take it. Imagine a squadron of Canadian-built jets, powered by British engines, patrolling the Northwest Passage. They dip their wings to a passing ship, a symbol that these waters are Canadian, protected by Canadian power. That is a vision worth fighting for. That is a vision that justifies the investment. We are not just buying a plane, we are buying a future. We are asserting our place in the new world order. The Arctic is our heritage. It is our responsibility. And it is time we started acting like it. This decision will define Canada's role in the 21st century. Let's make sure we get it right. Let's choose the alliance that makes us strong. Let's choose the path of the North. Thank you for watching. This is a conversation that every Canadian needs to be a part of. Share this video, discuss it with your friends, and let your representatives know that you want a defense policy that puts Canada's sovereignty first. Subscribe for more deep dives into the geopolitics that shape our world. We will see you in the next one.